Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel for an update on my braces. It is February 2018 and I am still in braces after being in them for 18 months. I was hoping to have them off in November of 2017. However, there were a few problems along the way that extended the time that I needed to be in them to finish straightening out my teeth. One of those problems was caused by the shape of my teeth. If you remember from my last update, I had a dark triangle right down here. And it was caused because one of my teeth was wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. So when my teeth were put next to each other because of the shape, I had this little dark triangle at the bottom. The only way to get rid of it was to do IPR, interproximal reduction, which is where my orthodontist went in and he sanded or filed in between my teeth to make that one tooth the same thickness from the top, to the same width from the top to the bottom. And that left a pretty big gap. So he put me back in the thickest wire with a power chain, and unfortunately, the friction of the wire in the brackets was greater than the force of the power chain, so that gap never closed up, and I was like that for 2 months. So that added 2 months onto my treatment plan right then, just because of that situation. Then when I went back in, I explained the problem and what I thought it was, and he was like, yep, you're right, that's what caused it. So he bumped me down to a thinner wire on the bottom with the power chain still on, and I was like that for another month. And being like that for another month caused my teeth to go all wonky on the bottom because of the thinner wire. So when I went back in, he put me in a thicker wire with no power chain, which caused a whole bunch of gaps to open back up. And when that happened, I went back in and he put me back in the power chain as tight as he could make it with the thickest wires so that my teeth would straighten out, as well as those gaps closing up. And I was concerned that it wasn't going to work, but that's where I am right now. And as you can see, no gaps on the bottom. So they closed up and my bottom teeth are nice and straight. So it looks like we're finally in good shape, hopefully smooth sailing from here on out. Also in the last couple of months, my orthodontist repositioned some of the brackets on the top teeth. The reason why he did that was to pull some of the teeth down a little bit, or to adjust the torque, which is how they're angled out or in your mouth. It's how straight up and down they are. So my number 9 tooth, from being crooked my whole life, the bottom of it wore a little weird. And the way that it wore, my tooth wasn't straight across the bottom, so he had to pull the tooth down. And that's why right now when I smile, you can see it's down farther than my other teeth. The reason why he did that is once my braces come off, he's going to file my teeth so that they're all exactly the same length across the bottom of them. So I have a nice even set of teeth across the top. I'm a little nervous about that whole grinding it down, but I don't suspect it's going to be any different than the IPR, which was completely painless. The sound wasn't horrific. I didn't feel anything except for some slight vibrations, so it wasn't traumatizing at all. So I imagine this would be just the same. I also had some gaps going on when my teeth are closed right over here. One of the things when I sat down for my consultation, the initial consultation, my orthodontist said that he wants all the dark triangles closed up in a smile when your teeth are closed, which is great because I had some pretty big triangles going on and some triangles that were touching and they looked more like the letter M than a triangle. So in pulling some of the teeth down by putting kinks in the wire and also doing the same thing on the bottom to pull some of the teeth up out of the gum line a little bit, we were able to close up most of those gaps. So when I go in next week for my next adjustment, I'm hoping that those gaps are almost completely closed up to the point where we're looking at a possible appointment to take off my braces, which would be pretty sweet right now. Repositioning the brackets, it's kind of making me nervous about getting my braces taken off. Not gonna lie about that. Because when he's using his tools to kind of grab those brackets and like yank them off, there's some pressure going on and it literally feels like he's ripping my teeth out of my mouth. Not like painful ripping, just like the pressure on your teeth. Like it feels like he's moving my entire skull when he's pulling on them. So he went through, like I kind of like winced and curled my feet up to my stomach a little bit. And he was like, does that hurt? I'm like, I just don't like it. So then he took this grinding tool and he went underneath the brackets to kind of eat away at some of the compound that holds the bracket to the tooth. And he kind of filed at it a little bit so that when he would grab it with the plier things and twist to pop them off, it didn't require as much force. So my fingers are crossed that when he takes all of my braces off, that he's going to go through and do that little file trick underneath there, break down some of the compound, and then grab them and yank them off after that. That will feel a little bit better to me. Also, whenever your orthodontist is polishing your teeth, so when he repositioned my teeth and then he took a little tool to sand off any of the compound that was left behind because he was going to glue some more brackets back on, he needed a completely clean and polished surface. I don't know why, but I feel like I can't breathe when he's doing it because, like, you can feel some of the particles of the compound flying off, so I don't want to breathe through my nose and, like, breathe in the compound, but I also, like, close off my throat because I don't want anything flying down my throat. So I'm, like, holding my breath the entire time while he's doing his thing, and then when he takes his hands away, I'm, like, like, trying to get in as much air, and then when he puts his hands back in, I'm, like, don't breathe. It's just my own weird thing, and I'm going to have to figure out how to breathe because I think taking braces off, all of them, is going to take longer than 30 seconds, and I really can't hold my breath that long, so wish me luck when it comes down to that point. So I think my next decision with braces is going to be the big talk of retainers. Fixed retainers, retainers that you put in at night. Am I going to have to wear a retainer all day long for a while my teeth kind of, like, take their permanent spot in my mouth? I tried Invisalign. I hated Invisalign. I hated Invisalign because I felt like I couldn't talk with them in my mouth. I didn't like the taste of the plastic. I didn't like the way it felt along the sides of my tongue. It triggered my gag reflex. So if that's the type of retainer that I have, I need to talk to my orthodontist about how am I going to get used to this kind of retainer when I hated it before. I think my best option for me personally is going to be a fixed retainer along the bottom and then that Invisalign kind of a retainer in the top, because at least in the top it's not touching the sides of my tongue in the back, and then that fixed retainer will hold my bottom teeth all nice and perfectly straight all the time. But then there's the whole problem of cleaning and getting underneath the wire and still not being able to floss the regular way with with floss, but having to use the water flosser or the threaders, which are a pain, and I've pretty much given up on threaders at this point. So, yeah, retainers. That's going to be the next chapter of my life for my teeth. But I will say, keeping my teeth clean, I've been doing a pretty good job. Haven't had any cavities. My hygienist and my dentist have been really impressed with how well I've been keeping my teeth clean. For my regular cleanings every 6 months, for the last year when I've gone into my last 2 cleanings, I've had my hygienist use I don't know what it's called. It's when they use like the water thing instead of the metal scrapey things, the hooks and the picks. They use the water thing and they do your teeth. With braces, I like that so much better. She gave me the little sucky thing that sucks all the water out of your mouth, and she had me in charge of it. And it was hilarious because it kept getting stuck to my tongue. And then she says, wrap your lips around it. And I do, and it like sucks all the air out of my mouth and it makes funny sounds. I'm 33 years old and I'm sitting in the chair laughing hysterically to the point where my hygienist is laughing hysterically. And neither of us are being productive in this appointment anymore at all. It was an awesome appointment. Highly recommend that if you can tolerate it. First time I had it done with a different hygienist because my normal hygienist was out with one of her kids that were sick. She held on to, I call it Mr. Thirsty, the little water sucky thing. She held on to that. She wasn't very good at going where the water was because I could feel it, and she was focusing on my gum line, not the water collecting in my mouth. And the water was like running out of my mouth, down my neck, down my back. I laughed and my hair and my shirt were soaked. So if you're going to have them do that, maybe schedule that for the end of your day, or don't go back to work after having that done, or have a change of clothes just in case you end up getting soaked like I did my first time. But the second time when I was in charge of Mr. Thirsty, the little water sucky thing, I didn't get wet at all and I was completely fine. So be in charge of Mr. Thirsty. It'll keep your clothes and your hair dry. That's my little tip there. Well, that's it for this update. I hope you found something useful in it. Hopefully my next update will be, hey, guess what? Next time, braces are coming off. But maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Stay tuned, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.